Thank you so much for watching Landum C Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. The Anderson Tapes is a 1971 American crime film that was directed by Sidney Lumet. It starred Sean Connery and featured Diane Cannon, Martin Balsam, and Alan King. Frank Pearson wrote the screenplay for the project, and it was based on a best-selling 1970 novel that had the same name by Lawrence Sanders. The movie was scored by Quincy Jones, and it marks the feature film debut of Christopher Walken. The storyline follows Duke Anderson, who's a convicted safecracker, as he's released after serving a decade in prison. He visits his former girlfriend, Ingrid Everly, at her luxurious apartment in New York City, where he devises a new plan to amass wealth. He decides to rob all 6 apartments in that apartment building. This intricate scheme involves several of his ex-con friends and acquaintances. However, Anderson soon realizes that life has evolved during his 10 years behind bars, particularly with the prevalence of surveillance cameras in daily life. These cameras present an additional challenge for his original plan. And unbeknownst to him, some of his acquaintances are also under individual electronic surveillance by various organizations, each of them for distinct reasons. Some of these monitoring efforts are legal, while others are not. The real question remains whether anyone conducting the surveillance will be able to connect the dots of the plot. And even if they do, will it matter to them if it doesn't pertain to their primary subject of interest? The film's real claim to fame is that it was the first mainstream American movie to explore technology in a notable way. The moral complexities that you find in surveillance were much more effectively explored 3 years later in Francis Ford Coppola's The Conversation from 1974. I feel it's a fun movie to watch, maybe not as well developed as The Conversation was, but still one that grabs your attention. I like the characters in it. They're all divided into their own specialties, much like Ocean's 11 in the 1960s did, and when Steven Soderbergh did the remake of the original film. Christopher Walken's character is almost unidentifiable because he doesn't seem to have developed that cadence with his accent that he's so well known for. Martin Balsam's character as a gay designer is spot on. And then the final character that really stands out to me is one played by Stan Gottlieb. That's the character of Pop, a man that Duke befriended in prison who's enlisted to join the heist, mostly out of pity. You see, Pop was originally incarcerated in 1931, and the last time that he ever heard from a relative of his was in 1948. And the truth be known, Pop has lived behind bars for so long that he really doesn't care to live as a free man at all. The film is edited in such a way that it's pretty intriguing. It toggles between Duke and his ragtag crew, disguised by janitor uniforms and brown cloth masks, proceeding with the job at hand, and the victims in the aftermath, thus describing what went on through the robbery to the police. These apartment dwellers that are robbed are some of the great character actors too, and they flourish in the film. One that comes to mind is Norman Rose, as he plays a greedy, purple bathrobed businessman who's unhesitant about risking his wife's safety if it means protecting the easily replaceable cash that's in his safe. And then we meet Margaret Hamilton and Judith Lowry. They play a pair of old maids who don't treat the occasion that's happening as something to be frightened of, but they look at it as an exhilarating break from the monotony of their current lives. And by the way, this is the final theatrical live-action movie for Margaret Hamilton, who you will sure recognize in the film as the Wicked Witch from The Wizard of Oz. Sean Connery, Martin Balsam, and director Sidney Lumet were all able to work together again on Murder on the Orient Express. Connery had previously worked with the director on The Hill, and they would reunite the following year on The Offense, and again many years later for Family Business. Now, this production was really important in Sean Connery's performance as the likable criminal Duke Anderson, which gave him a breakout from being typecast as James Bond. It also restored him to the rank of top male actors in the U.S. The production was filmed on location in New York City on Fifth Avenue at the Convent of the Sacred Heart, which stood in for the luxury apartment building. They also filmed at Rikers Island Prison, the Port Authority Bus Terminal, Luxor Health Club, and on the Lower East Side. Interior scenes were filmed at High Brown Studio and at ABC, both in New York City. The film was on a really tight budget and was completed from mid-August to October 16th, 1970. Now, they did have some problems when they were filming exterior shots in New York, that being that there was a funeral of a notorious mafia kingpin that was taking place while filming was going on, and bystanders who were among the attendees asked for a copy of the film because they were unhappy at the possibility that their faces might show up on the big screen. Now, Dyan Cannon, who plays the female lead in the film, was married to the ever-popular Cary Grant. Their marriage took place in 1965, and at the time, Cary was 61, and she was a baby at 28. But things just weren't rosy from the very start. There were fundamental problems in their relationship. She states in her book that Grant would criticize her about everything, and he would fly into unexpected fits of rage. She states that she never knew what was going to set him off, and that he would follow her around the house, listing her shortcomings. If she didn't place a coaster under her water glass, if she parked her car in the driveway crooked, he told her that she shouldn't be so friendly with the postman because he might get the wrong idea. She admits that she left a lot out of the book just to save face, just to prevent people from thinking poorly of Cary, and she didn't want to destroy that image completely. Go back and take a look at this pretty good film. I really think you'll enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.